So, any other questions? That's the second form, yes.
But whether they will have a first form, like the specific performance?
Yeah, well, this depends actually on the jurisdiction which security is governed. I mean, I think there could be an issue under English law. You can guarantee specific performance, but only secondary claims, money payment claims, but not all jurisdictions treat that the same. So it's also possible that German law could give a specific performance guarantee, even if the parent company would technically not be able to procure the completion. That would also then come down to secondary claims for breach of the guarantee, but it is possible.
Possible for the parent company to...
Depending on the jurisdiction.
But how it in practice, because sometimes they...
Well, I mean, sometimes a question of money, sometimes it's a question of hiring another engineering company. Yeah, I mean, they don't have to do it physically themselves. They can procure.
They will try to solve this problem on behalf of their staff.
But the important point is actually that, as you will see when we talk about security, also the claim under the performance guarantees was of course assigned to the banks as collateral. So as long as the parent company is obliged to procure that the project is finished, they have a secondary damage claim against the parent if this doesn't happen. And that comes then very close to having a guarantee of the loan to begin with, which I think you are right is the more straightforward way. Just giving a guarantee of the loan, and that will make the banks comfortable that they have just a parent risk before the project is completed. And if completion never happens, they can just go to the parent and ask for repayment and cancel the loan agreement and get out of the deal.
Because in the online there, someone said that the bank only the lender only care about the payment, but not you don't need actually to have that security. So it will be more fair that they only get money back.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, you can negotiate all kinds of ways. You can have a grace period if you don't reach it by a certain date, and then the parent can procure it, and it really depends on when the banks can walk away from the deal. Yeah. But I think it gives the banks the same kind of comfort. But I agree with you, technically it's more straightforward to have a payment guarantee. So,
last time that the angel has last year mentioned the contractor's bond is a unconditional payment during the performance of the contract, right? But who will issue the bond? Because the bond is typically the company or a bank will issue the bond, and the investors will give the money first. But if they give the money first, why is there is an unconditional payment after that? Because the mechanism that I mentioned is like a sort of a letter of credit.
I mean, bond has different meanings. We're not talking about a security traded on the market. Yeah? It's the same word, but it has a different meaning. A bond is something like a guarantee, a bank bond in that context. Yeah? And remember what I said about the purpose. The purpose is, first of all, to get the money quickly, and second is to avoid calculation of damages. So you would normally have an agreed lump sum, liquidated damages for the bond. And technically the project company is the beneficiary of the bond. So if the EPC contractor is late in finishing the project, and you have a certain penalty for the extra days that are needed, the project company can simply go to the bank of the contractor, because it's basically the bank of the contractor that gives the credit to the contractor by providing the bond, and can ask for payment of that penalty. That's it. But it's not the banks that finance the project. It's a different set of banks. I think when we have this picture, you can see that there's different banks from the senior lenders in my picture. Now these are the contractors banks. And I will provide these. Okay, basic terms of a loan agreement. As I mentioned a few times, loan agreements are very technical documents. The ambition nowadays is to make them self-contained. Self-contained means that you find an answer for almost every possible question in the financing that can arise during the term of the loan in the agreement itself, without having to take recourse to provisions that can be found in the law that governs the loan agreement, because the market would find that burdensome. They would have to take advice from lawyers to find out what the position is under the applicable law, and this would be a mixture of contractual terms and legal terms. And that's not how the market works. Loan agreements should be self-contained. That makes them very lengthy. It makes them very lengthy because you have to, as I said, to provide for every possible event that may occur in the financing. Loan agreements for a very long time followed a certain master idea how they are structured, but there were a lot of variations, basically depending on what the preference of the bank was that provided the precedent for the loan or the law firm. And that made it more difficult for people to find out quickly what the content of the loan agreement is. And so the LMA, the Loan Loan Market Association, came up with this master agreement, which had a lot of impact and is now used in most parts of the world as a precedent, as a starting point. Once we have gone through this list, we'll take a look at how the LMA website comes along and how you can see that and use them. Law firms become a member of the LMA, and membership fees are used to finance the people that take care in keeping the LMA master agreement up to date, and also developing different masters. Of course, laws are not all the same. There are some that have specialties in the law that may conflict with some terms of the Loan Master Agreement, or of the LMA Master Agreement. Very typical one, for example, for Roman law-based jurisdictions, which is basically all of Europe, is a prohibition of charging interest on interest. Many jurisdictions have that. And the reason for that was that it was to protect individuals that were in default with their loans, because if you charge interest on interest, you have an extrapolating effect on your debt. Because each time you miss an interest payment, it's then capitalized, and that makes the debt ever higher and the interest ever higher. At some point, legislators saw that this is not the way it should be, so they just entered a provision prohibiting that, and in most jurisdictions that I know, that also applies to big corporations. It's of course debatable whether this makes sense, because originally original purpose was to protect individuals, but in many jurisdictions it applies also to corporations. Now the LMA Master, developed from English law, simply provides that if there's a payment is missed, the sum not paid bears interest at the same rate as the loan, which is interest on interest. Yeah? So that would be a clause that's likely to be void if you would find it in a LMA master agreement governed by German law. So there are some workarounds. Yeah? But the number of these incidents where you have to use workarounds is usually not big. And so the LMA has drafted a few number of precedents governed by laws other than English law. There's the French law precedent, there's the German law precedent. There's of course English law precedent. And there are a few others, I think Japanese, and I'm not sure about Chinese. But I'm sure even on Chinese law you wouldn't have to make too many changes in order to make it enforceable in full on Chinese. And I think that's the world to come. You will see more derivatives of the original master agreement governed by different laws. And as I said, it's very successful in spreading around the world, except I think the only counter model actually is the US model. We also have a way of the US style of drafting loan agreements, which I think is not at all user friendly. When the LMA started out, it was also the English style with very long sentences and no headings and so on. And this was a very fruitful, I think, co-production by continental lawyers and English lawyers to make the LMA master agreement a very useful document because it has short sentences, has a lot of headings and subheadings, so it's quite easy to find where you actually are. We'll see that when we look at it. We may have already downloaded it. We go through it maybe at the end of this session or the beginning of next. But if you look at US loan agreements, they still have like sentences, half pages, very, very small print, no interspace. Yeah, I find it very difficult to read. I've been reading financing documents for 30 years, but it takes me a long time to figure out what the substance of this US loan agreement is. I don't think it's a very user-friendly document. But US lawyers are very good in making their clients dependent on them, so they produce things clients can read themselves, which of course is a good way of generating